Hello, everyone. Welcome to Centered CEOs. And I am Janet Semenova here with my business partner, Angela Rice. And today we want to talk about something really important, which is the life cycle of your business. So how do you start a business, grow a business, scale a business, overcome all of the different growing pains that are inevitable, and eventually build a successful company? And what do you do with your company once you've built it, once you've achieved a degree of success, and how do you ensure that your success is sustainable? And Angie and I really want to kind of go through in a bigger, broader overview of what the life cycle of a business looks like and how you can position yourself to run a successful company for the long term.
Being a business owner, as well as having consulted for many business owners, I've worked with companies on the infancy level where they're just getting started, on a joint venture type basis where they're integrating into a larger business that allows them to grow and scale much quicker. And I've also been involved in matters involving an exit strategy where a company is being bought out by another company, or they're planning for the opportunity to sell or merge with another company, or it's a situation where a business owner is selling its business to either a family member or former employees or a colleague in the industry. And when you look at these different scales, a lot of times what happens is a business will focus more on the future and not the present, or vice versa. There's too much focus on the present and not enough on the future. So I think in understanding the life cycle stages of a business, regardless of where you are in your business, whether you're been in business for 10 years, whether you've been in business for 20 or 30 years and you're looking to exit, you're looking to retire, it's important to know the steps of the business life cycle in order to really be focused on the present while being mindful of the future. So we have a little presentation here to help guide sort of the discussion. Starting with the infancy is really when you launch your business, you're in startup mode, to sort of the adolescent stage where you're moving along. You've obviously succeeded. Most businesses tend to fail in the earlier stages. So you've reached a point of success where there's a level of measurement where you can look at your business, see it growing. And then as it grows, in order to really continue and to migrate into new segmentations, as well as maybe to take on employees, consider office space for your business, or let's say you're looking at the opportunity to manufacture products in-house versus having those products manufactured elsewhere, or it's an issue of maybe you have one office, two offices, 3 locations, and you're looking to expand more nationally or even internationally. And then you really have to be focused on scaling and maturity, because as you're going through those growing pains, that's when you're determining, how do I reach the level of success and growth while maintaining profitability and cash flow presently. And then we'll get into talking about the legacy of your business and really that strategy for long-term succession planning.
So, of course, the first stage of your business is the infancy stage. The infancy stage is kind of like having a baby and going through pregnancy. So it starts with an idea. Every business starts with an idea. So let's say you have a passion project, or you have a hobby that you want to turn into a business, or you have been doing something for a long time working for somebody else and you want to branch off and start your own company doing something that you have a lot of expertise in. So the infancy stage of your business is really when you're coming up with what it is that you want your business to look like. What is the overarching goal for your business? And really, where is it that you want to see your business go in the next 1, 5, 10, 20 years? And during the infancy stage, this is a really fun stage because there's so much creativity and anything seems possible when you're just starting a business.
One of the primary questions that you really need to ask yourself when you're establishing a business, first and foremost, is recognizing that you may have great ideas, but you also have to align those ideas with the ability to generate revenue in order to ultimately earn profits. And so establishing a mission and a product and a service that allows you to captivate sales from your ideal clients, you really need a plan and a strategy to do that, a vision for your company, values to really brand your company in order to really generate the price points that are necessary for you to be profitable. So establishing your core values really allows you to leverage from the beginning who you are as a company. What is the core? What makes you who you are? What really allows you to really start your business in a way that you can grow. Oftentimes businesses take different directions, and they're able to do that because they have a strong vision and core values that allows them to better experience change, to deal with market changes, and to really listen to their customers. If they're, a lot of times products and service lines don't always fail, or they're close to succeeding, but there needs to be some feedback provided by clients, or as you test market certain products and services in order to reach the success that you're meant to attain. And so when you have that core vision and values, you're more flexible. You're able to create short-term goals with long-term envisions in mind in order to really sustain your business long-term. So Janet, let's really talk about what a vision is and the core values, and how establishing those important factors in your business day one can really allow a business to grow more organically.
Yeah, I mean, your vision is really your why. So a lot of the, if you listen to different podcasts, and I listen a lot to Guy Raz with How I Built This, and when you hear some of the world's brightest and most successful entrepreneurs speaking about the infancy stages of their business, one of the common themes is a lot of the most famous companies that we see and hear about didn't start out as the company that we now know and love. A lot of the companies started out as something else, or in the process of building the company that is now this famous company, they, were initially going to do something else and then pivoted. I think Slack is a great example. That was a software that was created really as an internal communication system and became so popular that essentially they changed their whole business model and created the Slack platform. So there's many, many examples of companies like that. And the main thing is having a why. So why is it that you're doing what you're doing? Why is it that this business is important to you? What is the difference that you hope to make in the world and in other people's lives? And what is it that drives you and wakes you up and motivates you to get out of bed every morning and will help you down the road, overcome all of the challenges that are inevitable in any business, just like a child is going to have inevitable struggles. So the infancy stage is the fun, creative idea stage, but it's also the stage where you really need to lay the foundation on which you're going to build the rest of your business. So like laying a foundation for a house, you have to make sure that the foundation is solid, because from that foundation is what you're going to build, is where you're going to build everything else. So this is a really fun stage for those of you who are just in the beginning stages of starting a business. Maybe you haven't even officially launched, you're just gathering data and doing market analysis and coming up with different ideas. This is really an important time to establish what it is that you want to do and who do you want to impact, and why is your business important, not just to you, but why is your business important to the marketplace?
And we can reach our long-term potential when we really outline short-term goals that are aligned with our why. And a perfect example would be when you start a company, I think it's really important to evaluate the opportunity cost. I mean, there's a lot that goes into owning a business, operating a business, and starting a business. So, of course, for many of us, we're employed somewhere else prior to starting a business. And in that case, you really have to evaluate the opportunity cost of giving up your employment somewhere else. That might include a steady salary or benefits. So in a short-term goal for a business oftentimes is what cash flow can I infuse into my business from a startup perspective, but at the same time, how much income must I generate in that first year or two in order for it to be sustainable short term? And a lot of times, if we focus too much on the long-term goal of what we want to accomplish with our business and not the short term, we never get the chance to really experience the long-term aspiration of our business. So when you set those short-term goals, I think it's important to keep the long-term goals in mind, but to be real practical, be realistic. And a lot of times it might be you have a vision for a product that's going to take you 3 years to develop, but why not in the meantime offer services and products that align well with that long-term product launch that you're looking to achieve, so that there's income streams that are coming into your business prior to that launch that's going to take a more significant investment of both time and resources. So when you align your business to have short-term success in order to reach long-term success, you're able to really create a business, a brand. This is no longer a hobby. This is something that's going to be sustainable. And one way to really stay on track is to have a brand manifesto. Janet, I'll let you talk about really how a brand manifesto has helped our businesses, but how it can really help others who are really looking to have a sustainable business that has segregation of products and services. Because as we know, the more services and products that allow you to have some variation, it really helps you to weather different storms and also to attract clients at all different types of income stream, to the extent that they're willing to pay for your big products versus products that are a lesser of an investment for them. It really allows you the opportunity to generate more revenue into your business, and oftentimes at a quicker pace.
Yeah, and a brand manifesto is really, I mean, we've shared our brand manifesto before with Senate CEOs. I don't have it as part of this presentation, but can certainly pull it up. It really is, what problems are you hoping to solve with your business? How are you going to solve them? And what are your core values in your business? So brand manifestos are really personal. Companies like Lululemon do a really great job of having a brand manifesto that they now essentially put all over their bags. So when you shop at Lululemon, you know exactly what Lululemon stands for. It's, on their merchandise, it's in their stores, it's all over. So it really creates consistency in their brand image. And a brand manifesto is a great reminder to yourself when you're first starting the business, and to all of the team members that you bring on board, what your business stands for, why you're doing this, why you're getting out of bed every morning, why it's important, and what is kind of the overarching mission and long-term vision that you hope to achieve. So I think brand manifestos are really fun. It's a great thing to establish when you're just in the infancy, early stages. It really gets the creative juices flowing. And
a brand manifesto is really a way to inspire not just your clients, but also yourself as well as your employees. And it's a way to really educate people about who you are. And it really answers the question of your why. It's really, when you create this brand manifesto, you're really inspiring people on your team as well as those within your community to understand your why in a very simplistic format. Okay, so I have a teenager, so I can relate to this phase. And I also know it wasn't too long ago where we've established, a business where we really had to start from ground zero and figure out strategies for growth. And our short-term goals allowed us to prepare for a longer term plan. But one thing that I think is really critical about the adolescence phase is you have to be flexible. This is the survival stage, in my opinion. This is where you have to build your business so that it can survive the 2, 3, 4-year window for you to really launch and grow your business, and for your business to really become everything you dreamed it to be. So here is when you really identify ways to generate cash flow into your business, more so on an immediate basis. But it's important that you align those revenue streams with your long-term aspirations, but they may or may not look exactly the same because it's focused on that ability to sustain your business. A perfect example would be a small restaurateur who opens up a small business recognizing that they don't have the space in the business to service enough people to be profitable. So they look for the opportunity to grow a takeout type business in order to generate more cash flow. Or maybe it's creating special events where people can rent out space on off nights. So it's really important if you have a situation where you know you're in that growth mode and you have some limitations, such as a business owner with a retail space or a restaurant where it's not enough space to necessarily achieve or sell all of the products that would allow them to reach their long-term goals, is that you look for opportunities to better align your situation with reality. So for another example, for a restaurateur who has a smaller space during their more infancy stage, or as they're growing into this adolescent stage, would be to do catering, takeout, catering, special events, cooking classes, in home or in dining, to really grow their revenue as they mature before they take on a bigger space that they can't afford.
Yeah, and the most important part of the adolescent stage of your business, so the growth, growing phases of your business, is to establish really clear processes and procedures. We talk about processes and procedures all the time, but it's so important to know what is the process of serving your customers. What does your customers' buyer journey looks like? What are your client avatars? Who is your ideal client? Who are you hoping to attract? What are the clients that are not the right fit for your business? And how are you going to communicate to your ideal clients that your business is the right business for them to work with? All of those things are so important, because if you want to create a business that you're going to be able to scale, if you want to be able to grow and you're starting to see revenue come in and you don't have those processes and procedures in place when you need to bring on new team members, it's going to be really hard to maintain a consistent level of service, a consistent level of product, and to maintain fluidity and sustainability in your business. Because if you start you're seeing a lot of growth, your brand is getting a lot of attention, you're getting written up, you're getting some PR, you're getting a lot of referrals, customers are really happy with the services you're providing, and they're bringing in a lot more customers, and you don't have processes and procedures to service all those customers, and you start to bring in new team members, essentially this is where a lot of businesses start to see a decline in their quality of service. And we talked about this recently on another Facebook Live that we did, where we talked about this happening right now in the travel industry, also happening in the entertainment business, because after COVID, when a lot of companies had to furlough their employees, and employees went out and found other jobs or went out and re-careered, and now as the pandemic is becoming more contained and a lot more people are getting vaccinated and companies are starting to see exponential growth, restaurants are seeing tons of new people coming in. Travel companies are seeing a big request for bookings, airlines, airports. If they do not have a process and procedure for hiring, training, and quality controlling the new employees that they're bringing on board, the quality of service is going to really drastically suffer. And so then all of that work that you've done in your infancy stage of building your brand and creating your image and creating a reputation for providing really high level of service is going to suffer. So it's really important to have those processes and procedures created, outlined, and it's okay to grow a little bit slower while you're trying to implement all those things so that you can ensure sustainability.
And a lot of businesses in the adolescent phase, they end up staying there. And why? Because they're not willing to go through the growing pains, the difficult pains that come with growing. And it's really that opportunity. There's so much focus on the technical aspects of your profession or how you service your clients. And in order to really pass on your expertise and your market dominating position where you're servicing your clients, but the next phase is to grow your business so that other team members can service your clients to the same degree that you service your clients, you really have to rely on processes and procedures. So there is some overlap between the growing pain stage and the adolescent phase, because I feel like if you're not really working together to strategize how you're going to overcome the growing pains, you're going to end up staying in that adolescence phase for sometimes indefinitely. So really, when we get to the growing pains, we're really talking about how to scale your business, how to grow your business so that you're able to run your businesses more so from a automation perspective and more so from a replication perspective. Multiple employees are going to be able to service the clients in the same fashion because they're following processes and procedures specific to your business.
I love this quote. So I'm going to read it out loud. Everyone wants to live on top of the mountain, but all the happiness and growth occurs while you're climbing it. And that's so true for anything in life. The planning, the growing, the struggles, the ups and downs that are inevitable in life, and also, of course, inevitable as a business owner trying to create and build a meaningful and sustainable business. There really, when you're talking about creating a company, it's not even really a mountain. It goes like this, it's peaks and valleys. And so you get to the first peak, and it's kind of a false peak, because once you get to a peak and you've achieved, some of your short-term and long-term goals, and your company is doing really well, most people then think, okay, well, what next? How can I grow? How can I diversify? How can I increase my revenue streams? How can I impact more people? How can I reach more lives? And so then you have this down, and then you go back up. And so there's always going to be struggles. There's always going to be challenges with growing your business. And so, sometimes people will ask, okay, well, like, when do I get to the point in my business that I can just sit back and relax and, let somebody else run the show? And depending on what type of business you're in, that may or may not ever happen, because you might reach your goals and then come up with new goals and set higher goals. And the process is the beautiful thing, right? The process and the struggle is the journey. And the journey is really growing your business and impacting as many people and as many clients, and creating a team that has meaning and believes in your brand and believes in your why and believes in your vision, and growing that over time to whatever potential you may reach. And a lot of most successful companies in the world never set out to become these billion-dollar corporations. They set out to, create one product or to provide one service. But the more they grew and expanded, the more people they reached, the more people they were able to hire, the more lives they were able to impact, the more they felt that they had a responsibility to continue growing.
You touch on a really good point. I mean, really, the life cycle of running a business has that roller coaster effect. And when you really think about the life cycle of a business, as your business grows and creates larger segmentation or diversification within their products and services, or you're adding more locations, or maybe even entering other industries, you're really going to have a multitude of life cycles in those different aspects of your business. Like one product and service might be in its maturity stage, whereas another one is in its launch stage. So really, regardless of where your business currently exists in totality on the life cycle phase, it's important to recognize that there's that ongoing life cycle for the different services and products within your business.
Yeah, it's more of a circle. It's not really a straight line, right? It's a circle that you get to where you've built a really successful product line. And then usually, all of us who are business owners are entrepreneurs. We are usually idea people, and I have ideas every day. I can't always act on those ideas in the moment, but that doesn't mean I forget about them. And so we're always trying new things, and some things are going to be successful. Some things are not going to be successful. Some product or service launches are going to be amazing, while others are going to really fall flat on their face. And that's okay. That's all part of the journey.
Yeah, I'll give two easy examples of companies that I worked with on a consulting basis. One company, for example, was founded as a manufacturing product and service company, and then it became more lucrative for this company to focus on the service and to provide service for other companies in the same industry. So they altogether backed away from manufacturing products because they were so strong in servicing that became truly their market domination, and they altogether removed manufacturing from their business because that's not where they had strengths, and it wasn't where they were seeing longevity in profits. Another example would be a company that was traditionally in the food and beverage industry, but realized they had products that were better serviced in the health and wellness vitamin type categories. So they then switched their business model to be more into health and wellness as opposed to selling products for the basically through the food channel. So they ended up bringing on a marketing team and realizing, wow, we could really be innovative by launching these products under our own branding. And historically, they were more of a resource and product provider, but they then went to become a full company that did their own distribution all the way to their own branding and marketing and retail.
And it's interesting because there's a lot of dilemmas that go with growing a business. So when you're in the growing pain stage, usually companies, and this will happen throughout the course of your business, because even like we said, this is a cycle that usually tends to repeat itself many, many times throughout your business. But you have options when you reach some of these growing pains. If your business is growing really, really quickly and you are getting so many referrals that you cannot service them while maintaining a consistent level of service, you can choose to avoid growing further and stay small. And how can you do that? Well, you can really get very niche-y, very specific, and limit the number of clients that you service. And we have companies and entrepreneurs and business owners that we've worked with and spoken to who do exactly that. They say, you know what, I'm at capacity right now. I'm not accepting any new clients because I'm focusing my attention on really highly, highly servicing the clients that I already have in my business. And I have a waiting list. And that's perfectly okay, because there might be times in your life and in your business where you don't want to grow at that moment, where you want to say, I am at capacity. I need to focus on my work-life balance. I need to focus on my family. I need to focus on servicing the clients that I already have, and I don't want to grow. So I'm not going to accept new clients at the moment, but I'm going to maybe have a waiting list. And, when other clients leave, then I will accept new clients. And I'm going to be really, really specific about the types of clients that I'm going to accept. Another option would be to overextend and jeopardize your business solvency. What do we mean by that? So companies who are all about, I want to bring in as much revenue as possible. And here I am, maybe it's taking me 2 years to finally turn a profit. And the thought of turning away customers is just not an option. So we're going to take on anyone and everyone who comes in through the door, who calls us, and we are going to try and service them as much as possible to the best of our ability. If you do not have established processes and procedures in place, and you do not have a team lined up to take on all this new growth, what happens? You end up overextending. And why do you jeopardize the solvency of your business? Because you jeopardize your service. And when you jeopardize the quality of your service, your business no longer has the value that it once had, and you jeopardize your reputation. And companies all over the world have this happen to them every single day. Well-meaning companies who really don't intend to have their service suffer, but it's an unwanted consequence of being unprepared and understaffed, or being unprepared because your staff and your team members are not fully trained and do not have the expertise to service clients to the same degree as some of your senior members or you did. And then another option is to push forward and make strategic decisions for long-term sustainability. And Ange, how can businesses make strategic decisions so that they don't have to stay small, but at the same time, they don't overextend and jeopardize the solvency of their business? You're muted.
This is where you have to really look at your business model, look at your financial data, as well as qualitative factors and quantitative data that goes beyond your financial statements, and to really look at what cash flow is necessary to plan for long-term sustainability. And as you increase your revenue, certainly you're going to see costs associated with that increase. Sometimes, Janet, you gave the perfect example of, if you're overextending, you might be bringing in revenue, but if you're not able to service those clients because you don't plan and prepare, You might short term have less expenses associated with employees, and it looks like your business is profitable, but if you're not able to service those clients correctly and satisfactory, then you're going to have a huge decline in revenue. So that cost savings by not incurring and onboarding employees prematurely in anticipation of that growth could cost you in the long term. So one of the mistakes we oftentimes make in business is we prepare for revenue, but we may not be preparing for the expenses that have to be incurred ahead of time, such as onboarding new employees, so that when you see that revenue growth, you're able to properly service that client so that you have long-term profitability. So you have to look at what are the cash flow needs and what expenses have to be incurred in order to successfully service your clients. And those are, really strategies that have to be implemented into your business in order to really have a cause and effect with how your company is performing. You don't want to look back in hindsight and say, oh, because we didn't have enough employees to service these clients, or we weren't able to manufacture or receive product fast enough in order to meet these deliveries, it can have a catastrophic effect on your business. Because maybe, let's look at the 80-20 rule. If you have two clients that make up a big portion of your business, become completely dissatisfied with your service, and you lose that business, the lifetime value of that client is lost, not just the business, that might be jeopardized in the short term. It really becomes a long-term loss. So you really have to look at your financials. You also have to really, when you're strategically planning for growth, you have to look at testing your marketing, testing where you're spending your money, testing, the launch of new products and services, so you don't over-invest in a concept that may require changing, or it might be a concept that fails altogether. So you really want to test market to your clients, engage your clients, maybe even do some focus groups. So that strategic planning really needs to be woven in your business, no differently than your marketing strategies, your sales strategies, as well as the strategies that you put into place for your operations.
Scaling. So, of course, part of growing pains is scaling, but sometimes you get past the growing pains, and that's really where the opportunity to scale comes in. So, of course, while you're scaling, you're going to have, again, this is a cycle. So these are not stages that are really delineated, right? Because you can be scaling while also be in the infancy stages for a new service and having growing pains for a third service or product. So again, these are all things that can happen simultaneously. But while you're scaling your entire business or a segment of your business, what are you doing to prepare for that growth? And during the scaling phase, if you've overcome some of the growing pains that, you've already prepared, you've hired, you've brought on and trained new team members, you know exactly how many clients each team member can service without having any decrease in the quality of your products and services, and you're really ready to take on that new business, that's really when you implement the big scale marketing and advertising strategies. So first, you prepare, you lay the foundation, you build the house, you build the frame, and then you invest really the money after you've tested. So you test pilot a few different strategies, you test pilot your wording, you split test, you do focus groups, you hire your team, you train your team, and then you can invest the big dollars to really scale and to really take your company to the next level. Because if you start to try to scale before investing and before having the foundation in place, that's when you kind of fall flat on your face, versus getting all of your ducks in a row and then really investing your money. And that's when you see companies that do things really well, that are really successful. That's when you see the trajectory like this instead of, flatlining.
It is a sweet spot when you're able to scale. And there's a lot of criteria that comes with scaling. Obviously we talked about processes and procedure, but automation is another important element to scale. So in order for teams to work cohesively, there has to be communication channels that allow for automation. There also has to be data that is kept in a CRM system so that when one employee is servicing a client on the front end, the person perhaps servicing the client, if it's not the same person on the back end, has the knowledge and the history associated with that particular client, or let's say a particular product order. So scaling really requires automation. It requires processes and procedures, a way of doing things in your business. And you have to also really measure productivity as well as capacity. And Janet, you touched on that. If your employees are at full capacity, then you have to you're either already scaled to the max, or you haven't really begun the process of scaling. So you really want to create opportunities to understand the productivity and the level of ability for an employee to transition time so that they can be prepared to service clients. You really want to maximize the productivity of your employee, but you have to allow for flexibility so that that employee has discretionary time that can be reallocated to your revenue producing services. But at the same time, when they're not performing those services, you have tasks and procedures in place that continue to add value to your company, even if they're not performing, let's say, their core services related to servicing clients.
And this also goes to the business owner themselves. You can be a solopreneur and scale. And a lot of times this is really where the struggle comes in is, you are running a company and you are a solopreneur and you're profitable. You've overcome a lot of the growing pains. You've figured out how you want to do things. You figured out who the ideal clients are that you want to serve. You're attracting your ideal clients. You're bringing them in. How do you scale? Because you can't clone yourself, right? You can't split yourself in two. And so what a lot of business owners do, and this is where the struggle comes in again, is they scale. And the way that they scale is by working more hours. That is not sustainable scaling because there's only so many hours in a day. There's only so many hours in a week and a month and a year. And if you continue to just add onto your plate without delegating and outsourcing, without bringing on team members who you can delegate and outsource to, whether those are employees or independent contractors, you're going to burn out. And when you burn out, then of course your quality suffers. And so the scaling phase of your business requires a lot of delegating and outsourcing. And it also requires a lot of times restructuring. So if you're in a business where you service clients one-on-one and you are providing a consulting service, so maybe you are a fitness coach or a health and wellness expert and you are working with clients one-on-one and you want to scale your business, how can you do that? Well, you can transition some of your one-on-one clients into small groups. And that way, the amount of time that you're investing remains the same, but the number of people you're reaching increases. And so you're impacting more lives without affecting your own health and well-being and without sacrificing your own personal quality of life. So you're impacting more people. And of course, when you're impacting more people, you are bringing in more revenue, becoming hopefully more profitable, and then allowing yourself to delegate some of those things off your own plate to people that might do them better than you or have more expertise than you or just things that you don't have time for and are not exceptional at. So this is the important sweet spot in scaling, is being very, very brutally honest with yourself and knowing when you are maxed out, when your team is maxed out, when you need to bring on more help, or when you need to stop accepting your clients and kind of pause the scaling phase.
And as a business owner, this is really an opportunity to look at job responsibilities, the work that you perform for your company, as well as the responsibilities of each of your employees. And that might even include how you outsource different responsibilities in your business. And I spoke with a business owner just recently, and she shared with me that it's hard for her to delegate responsibilities because in her mind, it takes more time to transition and give the direction to that employee than to do it herself. And she also says oftentimes when she passes along a responsibility, it's not performed to the same level of satisfaction as if she were to perform it herself. And really what that indicated to me was that there was not enough training taking place related to specific responsibilities. So I highly recommend, if you're a business owner and you're finding yourself doing more admin work that could be delegated to an employee so that you can focus on those higher level tasks in your business. Maybe it's seeing more patients, which is what generates revenue for your business, versus spending more time at your desk doing admin work, is to really create a training program that allows you to, from the onset, delegate responsibilities without having to provide on-the-job training each time those tasks come into your business. Now, that might require some, tailored training sessions where you really walk through these different experiences in order to ensure that your employees know what to do when these circumstances arise. And at the same time, it also requires processes and procedures. But it's really important to learn how to transition responsibilities that can be done by somebody else, where it makes more sense for somebody else to perform those responsibilities, i.e. a perfect example is a task that can be done at a lower pay grade. And you need to do so in a way that those tasks can be performed completely independently. They don't require supervision. And this employee or this employer really needs to invest. I shared with her, a resolution would be to really create a training program that walks the employees through these different tasks that come up so that they can do them independently, versus having to go to the owner each and every time these tasks come about with a bunch of questions, and then thereafter still have a sense of insecurity in terms of execution.
And that's really when you reach your maturity phase. The maturity phase does not mean that your business is at its peak. It does not mean that you've achieved all of the success in life that you've ever dreamed of and all of the success in life that your business is capable of. All that the maturity phase indicates is that you have achieved a degree of success where your company is stable, where you have all of your procedures in place, you have a core team in place, you know exactly who does what, you know exactly what your zone of genius is, you know exactly who your ideal clients are, how you can service them, what they want, you know how to scale, you know how to overcome growing pains, you're launching new product lines in a very intentional and sustainable fashion. And you are growing your business in a way that allows you to also have balance and quality of life and personal time and mental health and well-being. The maturity phase of your business also requires that you turn a profit. Because again, we say this over and over again, if your business is not profitable, it's not sustainable. And if your business is not profitable long-term, it's really an expensive hobby that will not allow you to, to continue to service the clients that you want to service. So maturity requires that you are profitable. Maturity requires that you delegate, that you outsource. Maturity requires that you know what your strengths and your weaknesses are. And those are really the key factors that are going to allow you to continue to grow. So again, we said that maturity doesn't mean that you stop growing in a sustainable way. That doesn't compromise the integrity of your business. It doesn't compromise the quality of your services or your products. It doesn't compromise your own personal quality of life and mental health and well-being. It really allows you to scale in a sustainable fashion for the long term.
And if your business is in the maturity phase, I think it's, you've established yourself as an expert in your line of service. But at the same time, one of the things we really have to watch out for when we're in this maturity phase is market conditions, changes in the community that we service, so that although we may run things smoothly in-house and we have processes and procedures, we have to also be mindful of there might be external factors that require us to make changes in the way we run our business. So that's really you might be running things so smoothly, but if you don't stay apprised to the industry, or maybe it's competition. We see a lot of companies get really comfortable in the maturity phase, and then all of a sudden a competitor enters the space and they're ill prepared for that, or there's a dramatic industry change or environmental change that just creates a level of distress for the company. So in the maturity phase, you really have to stay apprised as to external factors that can have a dramatic impact on your internal affairs.
And as Angie just mentioned, continuing innovation, because if your business is not changing and not growing and not adapting, it's probably not going to be sustainable, because there's always going to be competition. There's always going to be someone that comes out and is able to do something similar to what you're doing. And how are you differentiating yourself? How are you adapting to the market? How are you bringing in different revenue streams and income sources? And are you investing in ongoing personal development? Are you investing in yourself? Are you becoming more and more of an expert in your industry? Are you investing in education, continuing education? Are you forming new relationships and strengthening the relationships that you already have with your suppliers, with your clients, with the people that you serve? And are you investing in your company culture? Because it's very easy when you've been you've achieved a level of success, you feel like your company is stable, you're bringing in steady profits. It's easy to kind of, get a little bit lax and not reinvest in your team, assuming that your team is fine and happy and doing their job well. Because you need to be checking in with your team on an ongoing basis. You need to make sure that your team is also growing, that your team is also improving, that the people that you work with and that work for you are able to excel and to reach their full potential. And sometimes that means that you are promoting people. Sometimes it means that you're allowing them to, change the role within the company because they have acquired new skills. And are you supporting those team members for ongoing growth and development? And then the last part, which is really, really important, again, this is a cycle, but in the maturity phase, and this is something you need to be working on really from the beginning, but especially once your business has become profitable, is contingency planning. And Angie is an expert in contingency planning, so I'm going to let her take this one.
Contingency planning can really be company specific. It can relate to the business owners, whether it's a multitude of business owners or whether it's a sole practitioner. And also you need contingency planning as it relates to your industry factors, external affairs, and your employees. If you know an employee is nearing retirement age, for example, and they're a key employee in their business, you need to plan a transition for their responsibilities, in order to, prepare for that. That may mean bringing someone in from outside the company or promoting somebody. And a lot of times companies don't prepare for an employee's exit when, if they had properly planned for it, it would have been an opportunity for the prior employee in that position to help play a big role in the transition process. And you do see companies that can do that successfully when there is a succession plan in place for key employees. And certainly as the business owner, you want to have a multitude of contingency planning in place, because there's a lot of unforeseen events that can happen in business. It could be, a catastrophic event that causes the business owner to no longer be able to operate their business, but you want that business to be able to continue to add value while it transitions into whether or not it can be run on an employee basis, where the prior owner becomes a passive business owner, or it's a situation where the company is best, it's best for the company to sell to the open market. So, and again, another contingency plan, if you have a multitude of partners, is to really understand what would happen if the other partner is no longer part of the business for whatever reason. Do you have a buyout agreement with your partner? Do you have a contract or agreement with your partner in the first place, let alone an agreement related to a buyout type situation? Do you have insurance if something were to happen to your partner in order to replace their significant role in the business? So a lot of contingent planning, and sometimes what's great is your contingency plan is related to foreseeable events. If you know, I want to retire at a certain age, or I want to retire once my business achieves this level of profitability, or maybe it's that I want to go from working full-time in my business to part-time, or maybe it's, hey, I work in in the office, but I want to be able to travel more. So I want to set up my business so it allows for more of a virtual means for me to manage and operate my business. So establishing contingency planning so that you can incorporate those changes into your business, or also to prepare for unforeseen events, is critical to the success of your business.
And one good question that, comes up a lot is, if you are a business owner that maybe you are your business is about you. Maybe you are you provide counseling services or nutrition services, or you're a weight loss coach, and really you are the expert, and everyone else who works with you is really just your administrative help, and you're out, the people that you delegate to, your social media, your marketing. How can you, I'm going to ask Angie this question because I know she'll be able to answer it. How can you as a business owner really prepare a contingency plan if your business is really about you?
Janet is touching on a very fundamental discount rate that is utilized in valuing a business. So that is the key person discount rate. So we've got minority discount rates, a lot of minority versus a controlling interest, which is going to change the valuation of a company. If you have controlling interest in a company, that company, and you're going to trade your interest in the business, it's going to have a greater value versus somebody who has maybe a 10% ownership in a business. It is not going to have the same valuation, even on a percentage basis, because of the fact that they don't have the ability to make key decisions for the business as a minority business owner. The same thing comes into place if you're the key person. If you're a key person, the value of your business is dramatically impacted if you are no longer a key person operating the business. So really, it's important to identify ways to transition responsibilities away from the business owner, where they're still providing the oversight and also the perception of the owners. And that's a key factor to really consider when we're really looking at these, the value of the owner is, it's not only reality, it's perception. If your employees are taking on a lot of responsibilities that allow you to take a more passive role or management role in your business, that's great. But if your clients refer to you as the business and not the business itself, it's still going to have a dramatic impact on the business. And for this reason, a lot of business owners have moved away from utilizing their name in the branding of their business in order for the brand of the business to have longevity beyond that business owner being an integral part of the business. So you're really seeing more businesses move away, even law firms moving away from branding under one name, so that the business is not as, there isn't that valuation tied to the business or the perception, if you will. So, I mean, I remember hearing
I think that's such an important topic, because you see a lot of businesses actually where this becomes a problem, and some really big name, especially in the coaching industry. I think we can all think of some big name coaches where you associate the entire brand. And Tony Robbins is a great example. He's incredible. Of course, he has an empire. It's not just Tony Robbins, right? Tony Robbins has books and coaches and programs and seminars, and he has a giant team in place. But Tony Robbins' brand is about Tony Robbins. And so the positive of that is, of course, it gives him a lot of leverage. But the downside as a business owner of branding your business just under your own name is it's really hard to sell. How do you sell Janet's weight loss coaching to Angela? Well, that would be hard, because either Angela has to then rename it to Angela's weight loss coaching, or there's going to be this like disconnect in between what your brand is and who's working in the brand. And so when you're coming up in the infancy stages, again, we said this is a cycle of, figuring out what is your long-term goal for your business. It's important to consider, what would you do if you couldn't work anymore? And if your business is all about you and the image and the branding and the pictures, and everything is just you and your face and your name and your expertise, it's very hard for that business to ever be sold, and it's hard for that business to maintain a high valuation without you in it. And even if you plan to never sell your business, you think you're going to work till you forever and ever and ever till you die. Well, God forbid you get sick, you get into a car accident, you have family emergency, you have a child who gets sick, a spouse that you need to take care of. What happens then? Are you really going to let your entire life's work and all of this effort and all of this energy that you've put into building and creating a successful business go to waste because you don't have a contingency plan?
Yeah, and you'll see more and more businesses are adopting that methodology, from law firms to medical practices. You know, they're creating names for their businesses that are separate from their personal names in order to allow, it also helps with growth as you take on more physicians, for example, in a practice. And if it's branded, you know, in our example, maybe it's, you know, Scottsdale Pediatrics, that name is going to probably sit well with someone who joins your practice and becomes a partner in your practice, because they feel that the brand is equal to them versus being focused on the primary owner of the business. Legacy. Legacy is not leaving something for people. It's leaving something in people. What is your legacy? Janet, I think that, you know, you and I have had this conversation quite a bit, and you always do a good job of really reinforcing our legacy. So really, what advice do you have for others as it relates to ways to really establish their own identity as it relates to what legacy they hope to leave? Because legacy goes beyond just your business. It affects your family, it affects your community, and it's that legacy that allows you to really have that sense of influence, you know, beyond your years of being in business. It's really to the extent that you're eventually going to carry on this legacy. It's if a client that you're servicing today, if at some point they're no longer a client, it doesn't mean that your experience and their experience with your business doesn't have longevity for that individual. So it's like, can you help carry a legacy for other people as well as for your business and your world outside your business? I think that that's really, a legacy is really aligning the ways that you can have a profound impact on other people.
That's the key. And really, for me, in anything that I do, I want to know that I'm going to have a long-term impact on somebody else. And if you are in the service industry, and most of the businesses, you know, that are in the service industry really understand this, because you're in the service industry because you want to make an impact in people's lives. But whether you're in the service industry or the product industry, it doesn't really matter. It doesn't matter what your niche is. What matters is what impact you have on other people. What impact has your business had on other people? Have you made a difference in someone's life because you brought on interns and you've trained them and you've allowed them to believe in themselves and to set them up for success in life? Has your business made an impact because you're as a weight loss coach, you've helped 24 people really reach their weight loss dreams and, you know, maintain a healthy lifestyle where they can spend more time with their families and they feel healthy and happy? That's a legacy. That's an impact that will have long-lasting effects. And, you know, also on your team members, have you created this dynamic within your company where you have people that believe in themselves, believe in each other, support each other, see each other through difficult times, and feel like the business is really an integral part of their life? And even if they don't stay with you forever, even if they move on to other things, you know, there are people in our lives that we have impacted us in really profound ways. And we've all had bosses that have had that impact, whether that be positive or negative. And so really, we urge you to consider your legacy in everything that you do, because a legacy can be positive or it can be negative. And every person that you do business with, every client that you serve, every employee and team member that you bring on board, you are going to have a lasting impression in their lives. And think about what you want that impression to be and what is the change that you want to see happen in the world, because you're in it, because you're running your business, because you have this vision and you want to achieve it.
Your legacy is really how you make people feel. And that feeling is going to have a long lasting impact. How you make people feel. And that's the people who work for you, your partners and your suppliers that help facilitate your success in business, your clients that you service. I mean, the ability to leave that positive feeling so that those people can carry on some of your, I mean, you want your why to have this profound effect on other people, because it's really spreading your message and spreading a message that can really make a difference in people's lives, as well as in situations and in communities.
We hope that this was an informative and fun presentation, the life cycle of your business. We urge you to sit down and figure out what stage is your business in at the moment. What is the life cycle of your business as a whole, and what is the life cycle of different components in your business? Are you working on new things? Drop us a line. Let us know what you're working on. Let us know what your struggles are. Like, what are your growing pains? We really urge communication, and contact us, DM us, comment, like, share. We hope that this was a helpful presentation, and we look forward to seeing you next time. Thank you.